Hello, this is Fan Formula on the 8th of July, just after Silverstone. Before I go into the questions, I think I would like, with everyone on Fan Formula, would like to wish Maria De Vallita a get well soon message. I heard she's talked to her family. She's been awake enough to talk to her family, and it's head injuries and feel like it's quite a scary thing to happen. So just hope she gets well soon. She's never going to race again, unfortunately, but oh well. There's not much we can say. Just get well soon to her, and we'll get on to the first question, shall we? I'll find it. Question 1. Silverstone saw very few laps from the teams as they opted not to run very far in the free practice sessions due to the heavy rainfall. Do you think that a regulation should be introduced stating that they must complete a certain amount of laps per session unless they're mitigating circumstances? Well, I think they should run, but I think what needs to happen is, if it's a wet practice, Pirelli just need to bring more tyres. Pirelli need to bring more wet tyres, more inter tyres, so they can be used, so they can run. And what would need to happen is, on that basis as well, the FIA would need to lift its ban on the time pit crews can work to at night. Whilst it's good for them to get some sleep, if you know, for that you just need to remove that limitation. Then they can so if they do have an accident, they've not got to worry about not having enough time to fix the car over the weekend. I do think they need to do more running, but what I'd like to see turned into this as well is, I think teams should also run their test and reserve driver for a certain number of sessions as well. But I think with the amount of rainfall, there just needs to be more tyres made available, because otherwise we're going to just see people sat in the garage and no running done, which cheated a lot of fans out of a good spectacle. Question 2. With Ferrari showing strong in both in Valencia and Silverstone, do you think that last season that this is their turning point, and that due to an unpredictable beginning to the season, they have a very likely chance of winning the championship? I thought at the start of the season, I listened to the Flying Lap with Peter Windsor, and I heard him say he was going to put I don't think he said he got better, whatever, but he was backing Fernando Alonso for the championship. And when that started, I sat there and thought, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, why you're doing that. And now I'm like, ooh, good foresight. I mean, Ferrari need to win a championship. From Ferrari's perspective, they need to win to sell cars, because that's how the Ferrari brand works. They do well on track. The rich people want to buy Ferrari because they want to die racing heritage. Ferrari makes money. The Formula 1 team works. That's it. But plus, also, I think at the moment they just deserve it as well, because mainly because Fernando Alonso he's sort of proving Enzo Ferrari's phrase correct, if this makes sense. They used to, apart from uber Ferrari fans or people like myself who just find things interesting to read, I heard that Enzo Ferrari said, "My cars are not slow, you're just not good enough to drive them quick." And to be honest, Fernando Alonso is illustrating that perfectly, because look at how much quicker he's been than Massa. The car's not brilliant because Massa's probably driving it to what it can do. Alonso is taking it out a little bit further, and if Ferrari won, it would be good for the sport, because then it would prove that Red Bull are not on this dominant march which they have been since 2009. If Ferrari win, it will be well and truly deserved. Question 3. Who was your driver of the day and why? I've got 3 drivers of the day. Mark Webber, because he took the victory and could get close enough to Fernando to put the pressure on him to take the place. Fernando Alonso, because he didn't put a wheel wrong until the tyres went off, and he couldn't quite close the gap back up to Webber. But other than that, he got off the line well. He pushed as hard as was needed. And this might sound odd, but I think Bruno Senna deserves a good shout as well, because he had a penalty-free race. He got a couple of more points for him, a couple more points for Williams. Nice clean race. Kept Jenson Button at bay for quite a while, and he was running as high as, I think it was high as 5th or 6th. So I think they're my drivers of the day. And the bonus question suggested by Paige, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Page03. After rewatching the incident between Maldonado and Perez, it looked like a racing incident. Maldonado received a €10,000 fine and a reprimand for the incident. As Maldonado has previous, do you think he will ever shake this reputation off now? Considering this is involving the Williams driver, I'm perhaps not the best person to ask about this, and slightly biased. However, I did make a point on Twitter, and a couple of people laid absolutely into me. It's like, well, calm down, just listen for a second, will you, please? I'm not saying Maldonado was completely clean in that incident. I'm not saying he's not free of any blame, because he shouldn't have been going into that corner. If he had cold tyres, he shouldn't have been going into that corner that hot. He should have backed off, let his tyres come up to temperature and catch Perez when he was napping. That's what he should have done. However, if Maldonado was losing the back end, it could have happened. It still could have happened if he backed off a bit. He could have still lost the back. He could have still spun. Instead of everyone going, "Oh, Maldonado, you complete wanker for running up Perez off," everyone going hammer at Maldonado, you complete twat for running loose. However, if my point is, and I think a few people will want to hit me for this, if Perez said that Maldonado is dangerous, why not wait to pass him until he's on a straight? So if Maldonado does drive into him, it is quite clearly only Maldonado's fault. As for all his previous he's had, all the other incidents he's had, they've all been I think David Coulthard? There's been enough counterpoint. The only two he's had in his career, really, he's had no comeback from. I would admit he had no comeback from the one he had with Perez at Monaco, and he had no comeback for swiping into Hamilton at Spa, which is fair enough. All the other ones have been fairly split, because I still personally think he wasn't entirely at fault in Valencia. As for this incident with Perez, I say if Perez says Maldonado's a dangerous driver, then overtake him on a straight, so that if there is any blame, there's only one person's fault, and that would only be Maldonado's. I think because of all this, every time, I see it on Twitter, whenever there's been an incident involving Maldonado, everyone says it's Maldonado's fault. And I know I'm a Williams fan. A lot of people say I'm biased, but it's not always his fault. I will admit he has put his car in a position so he was going to get collected and things, but it's not always his fault. It's not always going to be Maldonado's fault. And because of the number of incidents he's been involved in, unfortunately everyone's very against the guy. I'm not in the Williams camp. I very firmly support Senna in the Williams team. And I think the hatred towards Maldonado is a bit uncalled for. At some places it's just uncalled for, the amount he gets. I think because of the previous he has, because of the amount of previous he has, I say people just think it's Maldonado's fault. It's Maldonado's fault. I wouldn't always say it's squarely his fault. He's not always in the clear in those incidents. He hasn't always kept his nose clean. Because I will admit, in my example of Valencia, where he's going into 12 and then round 13 to cut across to get into 14. In that incident, he was too far off the track, so he should have kept behind, and he could have passed quite easily somewhere else. But at the same time, you've got the guy's at least racing. At least he's up there for Williams. I don't know. I'm trying to stay fairly neutral in the position because of my support for Williams, but I do think Alex Wirtz needs to have a sit down with him and tell him to calm down quickly, or as a punishment I think Frank should have Pastor sit out a session, sit out a practice session, and have Bottas in the car instead. I do think Maldonado needs a quick talking to. See, I'm not biased toward Williams to such an extent. I can't see that Maldonado is not exactly perfect. That's the end of this fan formula. Well, not quite. There's the entertain Ant. I hope you get well soon, Anthony. Be nice to have you in Formula 1 again. I don't watch Sky, so I can't comment on how much you're missed on that side of things. But certainly based on what you like on the beam, very much required and often providing, sometimes on the radio, sometimes very much needed moments of comic relief. I hope you'll get well soon. I hope you're competing back in the Le Mans series again, or GT1, GT3 racing. Just so long as you're competing soon, that would be fantastic. And for Maria De Volta, I can't pronounce your last name properly. I'm sorry, like I said at the start. I just hope you get well soon. It'd be nice. Just be nice for you to be in the paddock, so at least everyone knows you're fine. We just hope you get well soon, and can be of and your knowledge can be of use to Marussia. That's the end of the fan formula. So quickly, some Storm Space stuff. Well, some Storm Space stuff. The intro this week I edited with my Storm Space head on. That's been basically a lot of surgery on different YouTube videos. So if you like it, brilliant. If you don't, oh well. As for Storm Space itself, I'm in the middle of getting someone. It looks like we've got the second voice sorted we needed, so that's exciting. So then we're soon nearly ready to go. We're soon nearly ready to go on the Where's My Liberty project, which is fantastic. I might open up one of the parts to a guy. There's a bit where we need something to do with Sean Connery voice, but rather than exhaust what few accents we've got and few voices we've got, we might get someone else in who will be willing to do that. So yeah, that's all going brilliant. Just follow at Storm Space Prod if you're interested in, well, the sort of the stupidity we get up to, really, I guess. Well, that's it. I'll see you for the next fan formula. If some of the people who don't like Maldonado don't like what I agree with, but if they don't like that, then they can go and fuck themselves. To be honest, fuck themselves for not letting someone have a different opinion to them. Oh well. Anyway, see you.